I'm Yuri.
I'm Jacob.
We're going for a drive. '20 BMW X5M
Competition with launch control. Okay, that's fast.
So we actually got launch control to work in this. We'll talk about that in a moment. But horsepower and torque.
617 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque from a twin-turbo 4.4-liter V8.
And why were we so concerned about the launch control?
Okay, so BMWs are actually quite difficult to get into launch control, especially for the M models, ironically.
Yeah, with a lot of other manufacturers like Porsche and Mercedes, you give full brakes, full gas, it'll say launch control, and it goes. This, you need to have a weird setup, and even when you have the setup correct, it still will take a couple tries because it needs a cool down period, and even if it is cooled down, it still has errors.
And this one's also different than M performance models because this is a real M, so you have to have slightly different settings.
Yeah, like you have to put it into manual shifting, but you don't have to manual shift it only in launch control. It's weird, and then you need to spool up the turbos, I guess, to get full boost on the launch.
It's really weird.
And
BMW, please fix this.
And it's almost just as good without launch control.
Almost, yeah. But that's pretty good launch.
So we recently drove the X6. This is the X5M, which will look more aggressive, but it is not the coupe shape, which is related to the X6.
Yes, so thank God it's not. And all of my complaints with the X6 looks have been solved with the X5, and I think this thing is gorgeous.
I don't know if I'd say gorgeous, I would say mean looking.
Well, compared to the X6, I think this is gorgeous.
But you know what this didn't solve is the wheel gap, but we'll get that when we talk to the side. Let's start with the front.
Front's pretty aggressive, slightly different than the X6. The headlights look a little bit different, and the grille looks a little bit different as well.
We've got all real grills, and everything is blacked out because it is the competition.
Yeah, so on the regular X5M, regular in quotations, it's not all blacked out.
And then if we look under the hood, we've got a really cool package there.
Yeah, so on the competition, we have extra bracing, which is really cool to see, and then we also have an optional carbon fiber cover.
And you can also see from the front that we do have the M mirrors.
Yeah, and I think they look a little bit awkward on such a large vehicle.
But at the end of the day, if you're paying for an M car, I want all the M stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
And then if we look at the side view, the trunk part is totally normal. It's not a coupe version like the X6.
Yeah, it looks a lot better from the side compared to the X6, in my opinion. I know Yuri likes the X6, but from the side, overall, this thing looks great.
Pretty much like the other X5 we drove that wasn't an M model. We've got okay body lines, nothing as good as the last gen. And then if we go to the wheels, that's where we've got that bigger wheel gap.
Yeah, so this doesn't have air suspension. It is adaptive, so yeah, you can't adjust the height.
Yeah, it sits a little too high for my liking, but what I really like is the wheels.
Yeah, these wheels look awesome. Every BMW with competition spec looks amazing.
I feel like every Mercedes and BMW that has been sent to us in the last couple of weeks has had perfect specs.
Yes, congratulations to every company for upping their spec game, because in the last couple of years,
some of the stuff was bad, but everything right now is really good.
Excellent.
Then we've got nice big blue M brakes behind that, and they're drilled.
And then in the front, we have what looks to be like fake vents. So I don't know about that, but it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anywhere for air to come in from behind the front wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
So then moving on to the back end, we have a split fold trunk now, which we didn't have in the X6 because it was just a hatch.
Yeah, and I think this is so much better. Another reason to like this over the X6.
But the load floor is very high up. I feel like in the X7, we were able to drop it with the air ride and made it a lot easier for loading stuff in.
That is true. And you don't get like a fully flat load floor. Very close in this.
I wonder how many boxes it'll fit.
Let's find out with the box test.
10, and our newest box test member, Charles M, 11 plus 12.
Get your own box on patreon.com/TheStraightPipes.
So obviously more than the X6.
Yes. Because you should buy SUVs for the practicality of them if you're going to buy an SUV.
And while we're on the trunk, it does have a cool privacy cover with buttons that'll come out and it'll automatically cover everything when you close the trunk, which is very cool.
Trunk innovation of the year. I'm gonna give it to them. That's the coolest.
And then back to the back looks, we do have double dual exhaust, which is all blacked out.
And it is all real because it is a real M model.
And I really like how when you look underneath there, you can see all the heat shields there.
And since this is a real M model, let's take a listen to that exhaust. Very authentic sounding, not too many crackles and pops. I really like it. It's a nice deep growly tone.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel as fake as like the Z4 did with the...
Oh, not even close.
And then moving on to the taillights, the X6 looked like the Rock's eyebrows. This kind of looks more normal.
Yeah, way more normal, and they kind of add a part up top on SUVs, so it's not just like one little line at the bottom like an L. And
then we got a cool little double spoiler thing at the top, and from looking at it from very far back, we do have very, very wide tires, which is kind of like an X5 thing from back in the day still.
Yeah, and then we have a little bit of fender flare as well on the side, so overall, I think this thing looks really, really good.
Yes, top notch. I still think the X6 looks cool. Compared to it, maybe not better, but overall, looks great.
Yeah, I think this looks better than a GLE63.
Better than a GLE63 Coupe?
Way better.
No,
obviously.
No.
So for all you people that think I'm hating on BMW, I think this thing is amazing. I just don't like the coupe SUVs. That's it.
So with all the looks out of the way, I want to talk about the tech in here. Our last X5 review, I covered a ton of it, including the reverse assist, the 360 cameras, automatic parking assist. So check out that video if you want to know about all that stuff. But I want to get into a new feature we have here, which is the drive recorder. And what a drive recorder is a built-in dash cam.
Yeah, so you can actually use every camera that this car has. So you can use front, side, and rear to record every angle at the same time, or you can change that through the settings.
Yes, and the best part is you can set it up so that it'll automatically record when you get into an incident, or you can click to manually record, or do both. And then you could set it so it'll either record ahead or behind. I've got it set up so it'll record 20 seconds before and 20 seconds after when I go to it. I can also set the drive record mode to one of the preset buttons down here from 1 to 8. And then I can also set it on the home screen. And when I do that, all I do is click and it starts recording right away.
It's a really cool feature, and I hope other manufacturers start implementing stuff like this.
It's perfect. And then you can use like a USB to unload it all. It's great.
And if you watched our X6 video, this is the feature that this didn't have. And as for the rest of the gauges and everything like that, a lot of this stuff is transferred over from the M8 that we drove.
Yeah, and this is the same style interior with the M buttons that the M8 had.
Yeah, so we really like these customizable M1 and M2 buttons.
But they are very tricky. Should we get into how it all works?
Yes.
Okay, so M1 and M2, you program that as your mode. But to find a mode, there's no dial like we have in Mercedes where it's like Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and Race.
Yeah, so instead of that, we have a setup button, and then we have an M mode button that you then customize through the infotainment.
Yeah, so the M mode button controls whether your infotainment and gauges look like road mode, sport mode, or track mode, and track mode will like cut off the whole display. Sport mode will make it the vertical style, and then road mode will make it the one with the opposite tack that we don't like.
Yeah, so then if you really want to customize everything, like all your suspension, your drive modes, you have to hit setup, and then you can customize each individual option.
And it shows up on your gauge when you click that, and it's really easy to see what you need to adjust.
Yeah, so there is no actual comfort mode in this car, but you can adjust everything to comfort.
And then the best part about these buttons is, say you set up M2 to have your traction off or like half off. You just need to click it twice to confirm. It's the fastest way to get into traction off in pretty much any vehicle.
Yeah, so I love those buttons, but I do not love this setup mode.
And then with that, you can also change how fast your transmission shifts with the little button on the shifter. And to get into four-wheel drive sport, you do need to have traction off at least one, or else it's grayed out.
And BMW's traction control system is actually fantastic. You can still have a little bit of fun with this if you just put it into sport.
And you can also customize the engine sound to be on or off. So here's what it sounds like on. And here's what it sounds like when it's off.
Oh, wow. It's huge difference.
Yeah, it's much quieter. You can barely hear it when the pumped-in audio is off. It's almost like you kind of need it on sometimes, but it can be overpowering.
I think you really need it on in this car because it just sounds like air.
Yeah, because we don't get those like AMG crackles and pops at the end when you upshift and everything. It's more of just like a good sound.
Yeah, and it's just generally quieter than a comparable AMG.
So we'll touch on the rest of the interior at the end, but I'll get you in the driver's seat, go through Cliche Corner, and talk about all that great BMW traction control and everything that we love so much.
Horsepower and torque.
No, handling and traction.
Horsepower and torque. Launch control? Yes, it worked. Oh. Okay, that's got a ton of torque.
It's like almost Trackhawk fast, but less aggressive.
Yeah, but that number is not Trackhawk number. So this will do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.8 seconds, which is still obviously very quick, but not Trackhawk quick.
Okay, while you were launching that, did you like the heads-up display showing you when to shift and everything?
Didn't even look at it.
Okay, but it is pretty good. It does have a lot of modes. You can do reduce mode, but for the most part, kind of gets in the way.
So let's talk about this engine. It pulls so hard. 1800 RPM is when you get your maximum torque, and it feels like that. Like, this thing is very aggressive. You just downshift, and torque. So let's send this into cliche corner and find out what it feels like. Okay, minimal understeer. It feels actually really well planted, but the biggest thing that I've noticed is how the electronic system works with you and works with the car. So I'm gonna floor it right now. It doesn't understeer, it just kind of pulls you through. So the electronics work with you in this car, not against you, kind of like AMGs.
Yeah, and when we drove the X3M and the X4M on the track, we noticed that it was really hard to get it to like oversteer and slide. And this feels kind of similar, like it just doesn't want to.
It doesn't want to, it just wants grip, which is kind of totally different in characteristic and feel from AMGs. Because AMGs, they just want to slide if you have the traction fully off. If you have it on, they just want to bog down.
Even if you're in an AMG in non-race mode, it like needs to be in race mode.
Yeah, so I really like what BMW does with their suspension, their tuning of the engine, their tuning and calibration of the stability control as well.
Yeah, especially when tied to an all-wheel drive system, because it acts way more rear-wheel drive than you'd expect it to.
Yeah, so this is all-wheel drive, it's X-Drive, and when you turn on traction to four-wheel drive sport, it actually sends even more power to the rear, even though this is already a rear bias system.
Okay, when you were ripping it, did you notice that the gears kind of just go on forever? Like, you stay in a gear for a long time.
They are long gears for sure, but I mean, I kind of expect that out of an SUV as well.
Yeah, but it kind of sucks that you don't get to just keep like banging gears, but it is just like such a big engine.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like a 7,000 RPM-ish red line, so.
And what do you think of the transmission? Like, say you put it in auto, how quickly does it shift into gear?
Decent. Actually, surprisingly good. So this is the 8-speed ZF that we love in BMWs, and it's pretty damn good here.
But you're not getting any grr out of it at all, really.
No, you don't at all.
But it will sound better from outside, like if you're watching it go by, than it will inside behind the wheel.
This sounds way better from the outside, and that part really sucks, but that's the thing. People want a luxurious experience, so they have to delete the exhaust from the interior to get that.
Yes.
Which is why they have to pump it back in.
But at least it's not Z4 fake, which we talked about earlier, but I'm just happy the way it sounds.
And the competition gets the M Sport exhaust as well, so it does sound better than the regular X5M. And to touch on the suspension again, if we run through the drive modes, we have Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. I think this is overall way more comfortable than AMG's and just generally softer, even in every mode.
Yeah, but it is still like kind of stiff in comfort.
Yeah, it is stiff because this is an X5M competition, but compared to AMG's, I think they always get the damping better on BMW M models. And no issues at all with the steering because this is a real M model, it's not an M Sport, like zero issues.
Yeah.
I love how this feels.
Perfect.
And one thing I absolutely do not love is the driving position. This is such a tall SUV and the seat doesn't go low enough.
Yeah, it's probably better for someone who's not 6 feet tall.
Probably, but still, it's just, if the seat went a little bit lower, I would like it more, but this is a really big SUV, so you'll still be able to see over the hood very clearly.
So with you talking about the seats, should we move into the interior and talk about all that kind of stuff?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the seats are good. We can adjust them from the side, and look how much you can move this forward part back. You can't adjust the headrest on its own without moving everything here. It is pretty cool. Like, I imagine if you wanted to get in with a helmet or without a helmet, you can adjust it very well.
Yeah, and I find these headrests to be like a little bit too big. Like, it just digs into the back of my head and it's kind of hard.
But it does say X5M and it does light up, so that's awesome.
And then we also have massage seats, and the massages are fantastic.
Then how about the back seats? Do we have plenty of room for Jacob?
Yes, we do, at 6'1.5".
And the colors and everything in here are awesome. It's like this weird light grayish brown.
Yeah, interesting spec. I like it. It's different.
And then we've got carbon fiber everywhere, which I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm kind of sick of it. It's been like 9 cars in a row with the same carbon fiber.
Oh, your life is so hard, Yuri.
Well, come on, give me that dark ash wood.
I love this carbon fiber, obviously, because I love carbon fiber. But yeah, I mean, different patterns would be nice, but this is really nice.
And then we do have nice quilted materials here on the side too, which I really like.
And because this is an M model, we have some M signature stuff on the seatbelt, as well as on the steering wheel on the inside stitching.
And in the back seats, we also have manual peasant blockers.
Yeah, the manual part of that sucks. It would have been nice if they're automatic, but...
And then we also have this awesome moonroof that lights up, as well as normal BMW lights on the interior. Then if we move on to our cup holder area, we have heated and cooled cup holders, and it does fit a tall can of Red Bull just fine.
Shout out cup holders.
How about the visors?
Well, let's find out.
3, 2, 1.
Yes!
Perfect.
Good job. And in terms of regular driving, not sporty performance, this does have very good lane keep and adaptive cruise.
Yes, it's the one that gives you highway driving assist, so that under 50 kilometers an hour in bumper-to-bumper traffic, it'll stare at your eyes to make sure you're not doing anything. I think it's the perfect amount of bugging you to keep your hands on the wheel, so that you have to be responsible. Because like pals in the Telluride and the G90, that lets you do it a little too much.
Which, if you don't know what you're doing and you trust the system too much, could be bad. This is probably the right amount.
That's the kind of one that you might accidentally take a nap behind the wheel, and this is like on it.
Yeah, just jam a couple oranges into your steering wheel.
So with all of that stuff out of the way, I think we can finally get to the price.
It's a lot of money, obviously. It starts at $124,500
Canadian.
And with the competition package and a little bit of extra carbon fiber, this is $143,350.
Canadian.
A lot of money.
Yeah, but this is like a really fast, luxurious SUV with so much friggin' tech.
Yeah, a lot. Because you don't really get that tech stuff in a Trackhawk, you just get the horsepower. So I'm personally team Trackhawk, obviously, but this is really nice.
And even in a comparable Mercedes, the GLE63, you don't get as much good tech.
Well, I think you do get a lot of tech in a Mercedes, but I think you just prefer the way the tech works in this.
Well, it's stuff like you don't get the dash cam mode.
For now, because they will copy it.
They got the touchpad instead of the rotary wheel.
That's just a preference thing.
They don't have the highway driving assist where you can take your hands off the whole time and stop and go traffic.
Yeah, you're right.
And it doesn't have the mode where you'll reverse 50 meters just by putting it into backup assist.
Okay, so it has a couple more tech features, you're right.
Yeah, there's a lot that's missing that this has that makes this a way better car for daily driving.
I really like this car. I like it a lot. I think I like it more than a GLE63.
So let us know what you think of the X5M. Would you rather have an X6M, a GLE63, or a Jeep Trackhawk?
And is the extra horsepower and all the little bits you get with the competition package worth it? Let us know in the comments.